Alright, we are going to go over your homework from Friday. If you have questions, just write them down and I will answer them tomorrow, or you can email me later on this evening. Alright, the first problem, you had to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. This is what you should have. This were your original points. And if you use the rules, switch the x and y and take the opposite of y. This is what you should have for your r prime, s prime, and t prime. Next problem, you had to rotate the quadrilateral ABCD 180 degrees counterclockwise around the origin. And so this is what you should have for your primes, A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. And if you graphed it correctly, this is what you should have. Part B asks you how the coordinates of A change to the coordinates of A prime. And I just wrote down that I used the 180 degrees rotation rule, where you you keep the x and y in the same position, but you take the opposite of each number. So A was 5, 6. When I apply the rule, I got A prime as negative 5, 6. Number 3, if you take the point 3, 6, and you rotate it 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, you should end up at 6, negative 3, because you switch the x and y, and you take the opposite of x. For number 4, this is what you should have. A prime is now negative 2, negative 4. B prime is negative 3, 1. C prime is negative 1, negative 2. And D prime is 2, negative 3. When you apply the rule 90 degrees counterclockwise, you're switching the x and y, and you're taking the opposite of y. The resultant image are similar because we know that they're the same size and shape. And the rotation transformation only changes position. It does not change the size and shape. For number 5, when I compare the D to D prime, H to H prime, and F to F prime, I noticed that I switched the x and y, and then I took the opposite of y, and when I look back at my notes, I realized this was a 270 degrees clockwise rotation or a 90 degrees counterclockwise. Either answer is correct. And then for number 6, we want to do a 90 degrees clockwise rotation. The rule is to switch x and y, and then you have you take the opposite of the x. P becomes 3, negative 2. Q prime is 3, negative 4. R prime is 0, negative 2. And S prime is 2, negative 1. Please make sure that you are writing the rules, that you're writing down the original coordinates as well as the prime, because on your assessment, that is what I will be looking for. Go ahead and put your homework away, and then we're going to take some notes over reflection. Alright, a reflection is a transformation that flips each point of a figure across a given line. So you're always going to be given the line of reflection. We're not going to worry about this part right here for right now. Just going down so we can get to the rules. When you are, the 3 lines that we're going to focus on are the 3 lines of reflection. It's going to be the x-axis, the y-axis, and then both lines at the same time. When you reflect across the x-axis, you're keeping the x and y in the same position, but then we're going to take the opposite of the y coordinate. When we're doing the y-axis, we're going to keep them the same, but then we're going to take the opposite of the y-axis. When we do both at once, we are going to take the opposite of x and the opposite of y. One thing that you'll notice about both at once, it is also a rotation of 180 degrees. So reflecting over the x-axis and the y-axis at the same time we're going to result in a rotation of 180 degrees. Just like all the other transformations we have talked about, a reflection does not change the size or shape of our figure. Okay, so it does not change the size or shape of our figure. So once again, reflection is a transformation that flips each point of a figure across a given line. When we talk about the rules, when we're going across the x-axis, we are just taking the opposite of the y coordinate. When we're going across the y-axis, we're taking the opposite of the x coordinate, and then when we're doing both at once, we're taking the opposite of each. Okay, let's try some practice problems. Turn to your second page and we'll do some practice reflection. All right, we are going to start off by taking triangle JKL, and we're going to take that triangle and we're going to reflect triangle JKL across the x-axis. Okay, so we're going to take this triangle and we're going to reflect it across the x-axis. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, like we always do, we're going to write down the rule. So we're going to take the original x and y, and we're going to keep them in the same position, but we're just going to take the opposite of the y coordinate. All right, and so next I'm going to write down the ordered pair for J, which is going to be 1, 3. K is 3, negative 2. And then L is 1, negative 2. I'm going to apply the rule. X and Y are going to stay in the same place, but I'm going to take the opposite of Y. So I'm going to have J prime be 1, negative 3. K prime is going to be 3, opposite of negative 2 is a positive 2. And then L prime is going to be 1, opposite of negative 2 is a positive 2. So once I have those, I'm just going to plot my points. J prime is going to be at 1, negative 3. So 1, 2, 3. I have J prime. K prime is going to be at 3, 2. 1, 2, 3. Positive 2. 1, 2. And it's going to be K prime. Make sure you're labeling your points. And then L prime is going to be at 1, positive 2. So I have L prime at 1, positive 2. And then once I have my points, I'm going to connect my dots. And you can see that we flip that triangle across the x-axis. Okay? All right, I'm going to have you try one on your own, but before we do that, note that JKL and J prime, K prime, and L prime are congruent. So make sure you write that down. Triangle JKL and triangle J prime, K prime, and L prime are congruent. All right, let's, why don't you try one on your own? Ooh, I want you to reflect triangle ABC across the y-axis. All right, don't forget your steps. Write down the rule, write down the original points, and then apply the rule to the original points, and then do your reflecting. Our guest teacher is going to pause while you work, and then unpause for you to check your answers. All right, as you can see, to reflect ABC across the y-axis, we had to take the original x and y, and then we took the opposite of x, and then kept y the same. So A prime is 5, negative 6, B prime is 3, negative 2, and C prime is 1, negative 6. And so you should have been able to plot those points, and then draw your A prime, B prime, and C prime. Please make sure that you label. All right, next I would like for you to find out what type of reflection happened over here. So go ahead, write down the original QRS, and then Q prime, R prime, and S prime, and then write down what kind of reflection that was. Our guest teacher is going to pause so you can work and then check back later. So if you wrote down the original QRS, you got Q is negative 5, 2, R is negative 2, 5, and S is negative 2, 1. And then the Q prime is 5, negative 2, R prime is 2, negative 5, and S prime is 2, negative 1. When I compared those points, I noticed that my X and Y are in the same position, but my X are all the opposite. So I have a negative 5, positive 5, negative 2, positive 2, negative 2, positive 2. And also my Y's are the opposite. I go from a 2 to negative 2, a 5 to negative 5, and a 1 to negative 1. So since both the X and Y, I have the opposite, that is a reflection across both axes, or 180 degrees rotation. All right, you're going to have the rest of class time to do a little practice with your homework. Whatever you don't finish in class, you'll have to finish at home. It is due tomorrow. If you are planning on staying after school on Wednesday with me, you have to sign up for Eagle Swag. I am in charge of the minute-to-minute games, and so I will need to be doing that, but I can still help you. So if you are planning on staying after school on Wednesday, you have to sign up for Eagle Swag. See you tomorrow.